But when did you start reporting with the Moosehead? Sorry, what year?
So I took over just at the end of the '99 season.
Okay.
So
my question is, what were those Crosby days like? You know, when Sid's coming to town, Rimouski's here.
Yeah.
You know, what were those days like? I couldn't imagine the media request coming to his hometown here in Halifax. Yeah. I couldn't imagine what it would be like a pregame skate, postgame, pregame. What were those days like?
Well, I'll give you the long answer. It just turned out this way, but my wife worked at a law firm where Sydney's father was the office manager.
Okay.
So this was when he was 13. So like you were saying, we used to see his Adam or Pee Wee scores called in, and you'd see him score every week. Anyway, he would mention, my kid is becoming pretty good. So I remember doing my first story on him. He had just turned 14, so I don't know what year that was. Maybe
Subways.
2001. So he was just about to start with the Subways.
Okay.
So at that time he was known around here, I'm sure, but not to the point where he was being, inundated with media requests. So I got to know him early on, and I got to know his family, because someone that young, you're not going to just phone up, and you're going to want the parents' permission. It's okay, but even then his voice hadn't broken, nothing, right? So even over the next year, I was able to have a relationship with him, and then even the second year when he was at Shattuck. So that was helpful when it came time to get access to him for longer features, or at that time too I was writing for the Hockey News. So for 5 years I was with them. So for a feature, I get access. But the minute he got drafted in Rimouski, everything changed. We still had a good relationship, but you'd have to go through the media relations people more. When he came to town, it was always scrums. And the worst year was his second year, which was his draft year, because that was the NHL lockout.
Yep.
So there was no other hockey. So it was, even since then, there's never been anything like that. He'd be scrummed by 30 people at a Metro Center game. Oh. So it was tough because, he had to become a little more bland. At first he would, talk pretty openly about most things. But if you're 16 or 17 years old talking to the only hockey audience out there, it's understandable, But those first years were tough, and it got tough too because some stories got more attention than they should have.
And what do you mean by that? Like, false stories?
Well, I just remember like one year, the team was upset that he was getting roughed up on the road, and they appealed to the league to keep an eye on it, out for it, and it became a huge national story that he had asked for special treatment and things like that. So you sort of have to write those because everybody's talking about them, but you don't really want to because it's a story that's blown out to be bigger than it is.
Yeah.
They were just saying, look, can we work together here? And it's a minor thing that happens probably all the time.
Yeah.
So it was hard to have to write those when you didn't really feel like there was a lot of news there, and also just to have to rely on more scrum stuff than the usual one-on-ones that you're used to.
Yeah.
With someone like him, where you can, like I say, get a little more candid responses, that kind of thing. So it changed a lot. So
did it change junior hockey at all after? Because there was more prospects than Sid after that, like Lafreniere, for example, this year.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice something before Sid came into the league to now, how maybe media changed?
Well, that was they had a guy, Yannick Dumais was his name, with Rimouski, and he had to go everywhere Sid went all the time.
So he was just a security guard?
He was director of media relations, so he did it for everybody. But he'd have to escort him from the dressing room to the bus because there's too many autograph people. And there were some, you've seen it outside even the Moosehead's room, and there's always some. But that was the first guy. There were always media relations people
before
there to get people for interviews and to help, but nothing on that level.
Yeah.
And, even now, interviewing Lafreniere, this season, there's a guy and he brings him out, and you can talk to him about, what was it like in Rimouski, because they had all that experience of dealing with someone like him. So you know, sort of the irony is that because he and that organization had to do it at such a steep kind of rate,
Yeah.
other top prospects like to play there because they know that they're going to take care of them that way.
Yeah.
And Halifax is like that too. They've had a lot of guys over the years.
First class, Cam and Bobby, those guys.
Yeah, you know, they've had, you know, Nathan McKinnon and Jonathan Drouin, Nico Heischer. Like they can come there and they know that they're going to handle their time properly and stuff like that. So